and Frank Thorwald. We have a quorum. Is there any conflicts of interest declared? Hearing none, let's move on to the second item, discussion, consideration, and possible vote by the AZOGCC on the minutes of December 6th. Is there any discussion on the December 6th minutes? Hearing none, we have a vote to approve those minutes?
I move
to approve.
Okay.
You second?
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve them in a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. We have a unanimous vote to approve those minutes. The minutes are approved. Moving on to item 3, Arizona Energy Partners, AEP 16-1, update on compliance with December 6, 2019 Commission ruling on TA status and TA status expiring June 3rd, 2020. Dennis, would you please fill us in and speak up? You're pretty far away from the speakers here.
Is anybody representing Arizona Energy Partners on the phone?
Is Arizona Energy Partners on the phone? If so, please speak up. It does not appear that they are on the phone, Dennis.
Okay, well, the latest is that I'm still waiting for a demonstration of future beneficial use of a well that called the 16-1 that was spudded approximately 2-3 years ago.
Well, one second, Dennis. Can everybody hear Dennis all right? Can the other commissioners?
I can hear him.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Extension speaker, is there one of those could come up to me for the bat phone?
No, that's not it.
There's a little tiny speaker that...
No, that's the recording device. I don't know where it is.
It's not connected. All right, well, never mind. So anyway, I'm waiting for a demonstration of future beneficial use per the Commission's ruling. One had to be turned in by the operator by the due date, the end date of the temporary abandonment approval, which is June 3rd. There was one other minor thing which he has turned in. That was a second cement bond log. So about all I can say is I'm still waiting on that demonstration. Mr. LeBlanc by email has indicated that he's going to have more data for us, I guess, to justify either moving ahead so he can produce from the well, or he may ask for a shut-in status. I reminded him shut-in status means the well is capable of producing, and that includes having production equipment and lines and whatever hooked up to it. So we'll have to wait and see. That's about all I can tell you at this point. He's still in temporary abandonment status.
When is our next meeting?
May 15th.
So we have time before his period is expired.
Correct.
So, any discussion on this? Any questions for Dennis? Hearing none, let's move on to item 4, Pollard Helium 36-1. TA status expires April 4th, 2020. Dennis?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I apologize for interrupting you, but we have the May meeting. Perhaps it would be advisable to notify Arizona Energy Partners at our May meeting of our notice of intent to take the following potential actions, which would be deny re-entry into the well until a satisfactory demonstration of future beneficial use of 16-1 is made, and that we would consider denying renewal of permit numbers 1216 and 1217, that we could consider denying future permit applications until the demonstration is satisfactory, submitted to the Commission, and possibly order abandoning and plugging 16-1 well.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooper. Gentlemen on the phone, please mute your phones temporarily till you're going to speak. Jay from the AG's office, is there any thing that prevents us from doing what Commissioner
Giving them
has
a
just
warning
suggested.
as to what might happen is what we're talking about here?
Yes.
No, there's nothing preventing that.
Dennis, will you please send that to them?
So, maybe it doesn't need to be asked, but I'll ask it. The timing of that letter, I don't think I need to send it right away. We're only midway through this temporary abandonment thing. I was thinking that that letter should go out no less than a month before the expiration date. That would be May 3rd, or would you like it earlier than May 3rd?
Commissioners, do you have any comment on that?
I have an opinion. Yeah, I think we're tired of dealing with. I think we would not anticipate any evidence coming in that that's going to be a viable well. I would even vote today to plug and abandon, but I guess we need to let that TA expire. So I'm all for giving them a warning, but make it a real strong one that we're not going to consider anything more.
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, yeah, this is Bill. And I agree with Dale. My question is, would it be more effective if the letter came from like the Attorney General's office? Kind of relieve Dennis of having to write that letter, and it may carry more oomph if it comes with, your letterhead. And I would have no problem if we were to do that, to try and do everything we can to make him follow the regs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It'd be a good idea to do it more legally.
Commissioner Cooper, your thoughts? Stephen, did we lose you? We seem to have lost Commissioner Cooper. One moment while we get Commissioner Cooper back online.
Yes, and those are the instructions for that.
Yeah, I have a copy.
Okay.
That's his cell. Do you want me to try his other number?
Yeah, he preferred the other number.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to tell you that. My bad. He requested the office number.
Good morning, Cooper Meter.
Can I speak with Steve?
Yes, please hold.
He just sent me a note. He said the power went out at his office and disconnected him.
Wow.
Gee.
I am so sorry. The power went off here and knocked me off the phone.
That's okay. Commissioner Fire.
I conferenced. Okay.
Dale, Stephen, are you both there now?
I'm here.
Did we lose Dale?
Dale, are you there?
Oh, you know what I did? This was my fault.
How about you call Dr. Nations directly, and I will call Frank's cell phone,
That's
and then
okay.
I can just listen on speaker.
I figured out what I did. I forgot to press conference.
We're okay. We'll have it corrected in a moment.
Yeah, I'm going to hang up with you, and then we'll call you right back as soon as I press conference again. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Technology here.
Yeah, I know.
All right, Dr. Nations, you still there?
Yeah, I'm there now.
Okay.
I am here, yes.
Okay. Let me put you on hold one more time and do this the right way. Just a second.
I'm glad she's here.
It should give
It's
me a
shorter
new line
meeting.
though.
Yeah.
It's not giving me a new line. That's the problem. When I press conference. Try it again. Conference. There we go.
Good morning, Cooper Meter.
Hi, can I speak with Steve, please?
Okay, please hold.
Thank you.
This is Steve Cooper.
Hi, it's Tanya again. We should have everybody online now.
I'm here.
Amazing. We've
So am
got
I.
it.
Okay.
What we had just finished, Commissioner Firebrand
Here.
suggested, and Dale had suggested that we have the AG's office send the letter when it's time to do so. And I was asking you, Commissioner Cooper, what's your thoughts on were on that?
I certainly would. I have no problem with that. However, I don't know if having the legal advice doing it would be more appropriate versus having Dennis send it as a commission that we could consider the following actions. I would leave it to the Attorney General to give us which guidance he believes is the best way to send that. I want to give the party appropriate notice that there could be an adverse action taken if they don't respond, and that was really the only concern I had.
Do you think a 30-day notice is adequate?
Yes.
Jay, what do you think is appropriate in this matter?
I don't think it, I guess I don't have as high a view of the import of my statements as other people might. I think if Dennis sends it, it's fine. If you want me to send it, I'll send it. Usually I only give note, I'm only called to give notices when there's impending legal action against them. But if you want me to send that notice, I can do it. I just don't know if it'll have the impact you think it'll have, especially on this.
Yeah, I've had second thoughts about this. I think it should just come from Dennis representing the commission. That certainly should have enough authority.
Why don't we just have Dennis send it, and then if other action is needed, then we will call in the AG's office. Dennis,
Right.
Please send that, and let's move on to item 4, back to Pollard Helium 36-1 TA status expires April 4th, 2020. As of this publication date of notice, the operator has failed to respond to repeated communications. Dennis, would you please fill us in on this?
Is any representative from Pollard Helium on the phone?
Pollard Helium, are you on the line? No, it appears not.
So, we gave them temporary abandonment status that expires in early April.
One moment, Dennis. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let everybody know that there was email communication that I was copied on with Pollard. Pollard sent back a notice saying they were not going to attend because of the virus going around, and I sent them back a note directly saying that they could attend online. They responded that they had gotten that notice and thanked us. Dennis had already sent that out, but I wanted to make sure they knew about it, so they got 2 notices to receive that. Sorry, Dennis.
So anyway, I have had difficulty trying to connect with Josh Pollard through email and Lauren Webster. Long story short, the company's closed its office. It's laid off the other employee, and just Mr. Josh Pollard is working from his home, as I understand it. But their official email address of record in oil and gas records is non-functional, and I've reached him indirectly through his father with a telephone call, and also by sending an email to Mr. Pollard Sr. and Mr. Pollard Jr.'s personal email address. Mr. Pollard Jr. replied to that email I sent, put him on notice that the commission may discuss today the possible taking over the well to plug and abandon it. Mr. Pollard Jr. replied, but he didn't seem to be responsive to the request for what do you want to do with the well? Are you going to plug it or what? He was just he kind of digressed on other issues. A copy of that email has been sent to all the commissioners. So at this point, this would probably be taken over by the commission to plug and abandon it using the performance bond that they deposit with the commission. Mr. Scardon and I have had conversations, and Mr. Scardon has done some research, talking to other folks both in the state procurement system and another office attorney that I guess specializes in procurement.
Yeah, the procurement attorney in the AG's office.
Jessica Klein, I think.
Correct.
Yeah. So I guess we're going to try to proceed with a simplified approach of contacting the insurance company, getting 3 bids. I may have some additional questions for Jessica Klein, but I haven't had time to really think about it. I'd like to see this well plugged sooner than later. Do we need a vote from the commission to do that? I kind of think we should. It wasn't clear that the delegation of this kind of thing would be done to me, that I could decide it unilaterally. I think the entire commission should be informed of it and should vote or not. But I haven't heard. I gave Mr. Pollard a deadline of yesterday to please respond with something, and the only thing I got was a non-responsive kind of rambling email. So
Why don't you tell us what was in that email?
the only thing he said that was kind of direct to the subject of the well itself was we've not made any actions on the well. Actions, okay, but I was asking for either provide evidence that you got something in the well or submit a plug and abandonment application, which did not come back. He goes on to complain, well, he goes on to say that he conserved funds, they've laid Lauren Webster off, closed the office, complaining about state land and how long it takes to get their approvals, and therefore they're not going to lease state land anymore. They're just going to go with private land to lease with private landowners for drilling. He said, regardless of the outcome of this well, we're going to be moving in private leases to completely avoid Department of Land and their constant delays.
Yeah, I think I have a motion if you want to.
Yeah,
hear
I mean,
it.
just
Wait, before you make the motion, there's a little bit more discussion. I was just waiting for Dennis to finish.
yeah, there's nothing substantive in here to talk about.
We have I understood that we didn't need to have do bids on this.
No, that's not correct. But that's what Jay and I discussed and researched further. Since you and I talked last, that's new information.
So we do need to have a bid on this, Jay?
Well, I can confirm it, but the advice I've gotten is that there's a simplified way to do it for smaller procurements under 100,000, which this would be. They do consider, I think the advice I've gotten is that it's considerate public money, therefore subject to the procurement code. There is a simplified process for smaller procurements, which involve us seeking 3 bids and confirming 3 bids. But you don't have to go through the whole, formal process.
One question I have, which maybe it's Jessica Klein has to answer the question, is do they have to be on the state procurement contractor list to submit a bid?
No, I don't think so.
The reason I ask that question is that...
But we can talk about that later. There apparently are contractors on the approved list. Those people are already approved to do the work if we choose them. I think that's where that's coming from, but I don't think you have to choose them.
It's possible that another contractor may be able to do the job as inexpensively or more, but the company that drilled the well is going to be drilling more wells for helium for other operators out there this spring and summer, and he's already said that he'll be out there, and that since he knows the history of the well and what needs to be done, there isn't any MOB and demob costs that you might expect from other operators that might bid. So the advantage is to use Butler Oil.
That may be,
over others.
and it may be that he's the best. He probably is. We just need to talk to the procurement people a little more and work
Okay.
out what we're going to do.
Okay.
I don't think it's not a full-blown bureaucratic bid process, but I think we do that we do need to get extra bids, and the insurance company contract also calls for putting out for multiple bids.
Commissioners, is there any other discussion before Dale makes his motion?
Where is Butler based?
In the Dallas area.
While we're on the phone, make sure you state your name.
Oh, sorry, Bill. This is Bill Feyerabend. Just asking where the Butler drilling was based out of. So it's based out of Texas, not Arizona. Okay.
But in dealing with Ranger Development and a couple other companies, a new company which I was going to talk about later, Pinna South Operating, which is a new company formed by Butler Oil and a couple other individuals. They seem to it's just very routine to just drive from Dallas to Arizona. A lot of times when I'm talking to Tony Hines on the phone, or Brad Butler, or others affiliated with that, they're on the road between here and Dallas.
Okay. Yeah.
It's as routine as you and I go into Prescott.
Prescott. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Thank you. I just wanted to check on that. I'm end of comment.
Any other discussion before Dale's motion? Hearing none, Dale, go ahead and make your motion.
This is Dale Nations. I move to repeal the TA status of the Pollard 36-1 state well on April 4th, 2020, and change it to plug and abandon status.
This is Bill. Could we make it April 5th?
Sure. That makes sense.
Let me add some additional discussion here before I ask for a second. Given that it doesn't expire until April 4th, are we premature in this? I mean, he still does have until April 4th to take this action in this motion.
That's why I made the motion to make it effective after the permit expired.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the way it's logical to me.
Okay. Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second it. Bill?
Okay. We have a second to Dale's motion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous. The motion carries. Moving on to item 5, orphaned and abandoned wells. Dennis, could you speak to this?
As you've seen from prior discussions earlier this morning, we have one or more wells that has just been languishing and lingering for quite a while. I'm not saying that the state of Arizona has an orphaned well problem, but I think it's my responsibility overseeing this program for the whole state that we try to avoid that if possible. We have a better chance of doing that than a lot of states because we don't have the prolific drilling that's been going on for a century and less or more lax regulations in the past such that things just get away from states. It's a chronic problem for a lot of states. It's not to lay blame with those states, it's just the reality. But if we can begin to be proactive to try to minimize that, it'd be to our credit. The records are not very complete in the history of Oil and Gas Commission's well files as to whether we have an inventory of orphaned and abandoned wells. I get from independent feedback or from my own research, I discover wells here and there that I wonder if they were plugged properly or not. The documentation may say one thing, but an operator re-entered one well, for instance, in the past couple of years. Ranger re-entered a well that was drilled by Ram Oil, and the file says Ram Oil plugged abandoned. Tony Hines told me he re-entered the well, and what he found for a plug and abandonment was rags and wood and sticks and whatever, and he did. I don't recall he said he encountered any cement. So if there's one, there's probably others. So I wanted to open a discussion with the commission. If you had ideas about a policy we might write, I would say that we shouldn't let things languish for years on end, and be much tighter in our expectation of what justifies temporary abandonment, such as we've been talking about with Arizona Energy Partners and the demonstration of future beneficial use.
This is Chairman Thorwald. What brought this up was that the AZOGCC had a conference on that, which I was on part of, and talked about orphaned and abandoned wells nationally. And one of the things that I had noticed that they had missed was those on Native American lands, and Dennis brought that up to them and some other things. But any suggestions from the commissioners with regard to this? Any ideas?
It seems to me since we have enforced or enhanced our discussion of the differences between TA and shut-in and temporary abandonment, it pretty much gives us whatever tools we need to make harder decisions on all of these, and I think we're starting to do that. But I think to formulate a policy that we're going to make sure that the abandonment status of the wells is up to date and not delayed. Something to that effect.
Can I?
Commissioner Firebrand?
Yeah, okay, so, and thanks for all the information we've gotten on this. I kind of gather there broadly are two strategies. One is everybody that drills a well needs to post a bond to cover reclamation. But there's another one that you sort of do a surtax on the industry to take care of past orphaned wells. Now that works in the states, for example, Dennis was talking about, that have this long history and hundreds of thousands or millions of wells, and an actual industry producing things that you can do a surtax on that. I don't think we're really in that position, so we really need to look at anybody that drills a well to be sure that we've got coverage if they don't abandon it correctly, and maybe we want coverage plus 10 or 20% so you build a little bit of a hedge for these historic things that might pop up that were covered there. And those are that's off the top of my head. Thank you.
I have some additional thoughts about that. So what you're suggesting is a fine idea, but it would require legislative action as far as if we discover wells that were drilled in the 1940s that were improperly plugged and maybe are contributing to an environmental problem. I think the only recourse we have is to use the state's general funds and hire drilling contractors to plug and abandon those wells. The orphan well problem is egregious in some states that produce a lot of oil because since they weren't plugged properly, or the casing is corroded, or was never cased, it's communicating with other strata that may be contaminating drinking water wells. We don't have those kind of hydrocarbon issues here, but there is potential for some kind of communication anytime you drill a well if it's not plugged properly or sealed properly when it's being drilled. But I think for other states, not every state that has an orphan well problem has a fund that they can draw on. It seems like from AZOGCC's conferences I've attended and people I've talked to, they may have a surtax like you were suggesting, or they just appropriate state funds, but it's always a legislative action that gets worked out. But some states, surprisingly, it doesn't come to mind which states, but oil-producing states, some of them don't have anything, or they depleted their reserves.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, I think, is an example of that. I'm not sure, but that blew me away when I learned that. But Arizona has never had to think about this, and I'm not trying to overreact to it. I just thought it should be on the table for discussion, and I think we can go a long way by just being proactive with operators and make them understand that they're not going to get just carte blanche to keep a well abandoned indefinitely, and they need to produce some evidence and justify it. Otherwise, they need to plug it.
Okay.
I would just repeat again that as long as we follow our own rules and insist that there be some justification for allowing a well to go onto shut-in status rather than TA, or completion rather than TA, that we just insist on the rules that we already have, to insist that there's actually production string in the well, or some other recognizable development of the well that would make it a viable producer. If not, then we would hold their feet to the fire and say, okay, this is the end of it. Just like we've just done with this 36-1.
This is Bill. Okay. So this is more a question, and I'm fine with all of this, but the question becomes: are we requesting a big enough bond or deposit, if you will, to actually cover it? Do we cover or is it going to be that if the state needs to reclaim some wells, that some state monies are going to have to come to finish the job? Basically, the question is, are we sure that whatever the deposit or bond is, it's enough to cover the job? And
well, we've requested that in our rule changes. I mean, we're planning to make that request to increase the bond to make it adequate for actual plugging a well.
Yeah.
But that depends upon the legislature.
Okay, so it's out of our hands at this moment, but we've started the ball moving, if you will.
I think so.
Any other discussion before we move on? I think we can discuss this off and on, offline, and let's move on to Dennis, your report and discussions on the variety of items on number 6.
So this is not digressing, it actually speaks directly to the next agenda item. I have an email from another person that wanted to participate on the phone, saying he tried repeatedly, it's on the screen there, but it's not accepting the PIN. What I would suggest is that probably nobody is on the phone that would be dialing in externally, and that we disconnect, not the bat phone, but the regular phone, and call Mr. Scott Bowles directly so that we can have this conversation with him. He's been very, very persistent in wanting to get commission involvement and resolve his problem between him and me in regards to the cement bond law. So that'd be my suggestion. I don't know how the rest of the folks feel about it.
Just a second.
I have his number if and when you want to call him.
Who is on the, other than the commissioners, who's on the line? Could you all speak up?
We have
Ranger.
Okay, we've got Ranger on the line.
Yes, sir.
Would everybody identify themselves? Just a moment while I turn this up a little bit more. Go ahead.
This is
Scott Bowles and Todd Clement.
Try that again, one at a time.
This is Sakshi at Arizona State University.
Okay.
Scott Bowles and Todd Clement from the Cobalt Group.
Jim Kelly from the Cobalt Group.
Mark Hansen from Prize Energy. Chris Robinson from Prize Energy.
Very good. We've got everybody here, Dennis.
Okay.
So if we could move on, the Cobalt Group is first there.
Yes, the Cobalt submitted an application to do some more work on their well. They basically need to clean out the well bore and encourage flow into the well from the perforations that they want to do or have already done. This is standard maintenance type work that anybody does on a well, even a water well has maintenance problems sometimes. The well has to be flushed out. They're going to be using acid to flush out the well and dissolve whatever minerals and carbonates that are plugging up the pores around the well bore itself, so they can promote the flow and do quality testing to see what they have down deep in the proposed perforations area. So they submitted all that. They also submitted a cement bond log. I have some training in cement bond log interpretation, but it's not very in depth as far as being an expert to be able to teach a class. But in my looking at the cement bond log, I had a problem with the quality of the signal that's coming back. It appears that there's a lot of cement missing in the annulus from the surface down to the bottom of the surface casing. The drilling reports indicate that there's been a return of cement, which is a good indicator that there's good circulation, but it's not a guarantee that you don't have gaps, channelizing pockets of no cement, so that there's still potential for cross communication. The proposed drilling plan, which got amended and approved both times, indicates how they're going to be doing the cement, but you need some kind of verification with technology, which is what a cement bond log does, to verify that the cement job is good, given the concerns that local people are presenting up there about helium and whether it's going to destroy helium drilling, whether it's going to ruin their drinking water aquifers. I just believe that we need to be demonstrating that we're doing the best we can to understand that there is a good seal of these cement jobs. And the cement bond log is the best way to do it. I have trouble understanding why the cement bond log shows pretty much an open hole. I don't believe that's probably true, but anyway, the other side of the story, I guess I'll let Scott Bowles present. You sent me a lot of information, Scott. I have forwarded to the commissioners for their review. I know you have a different point of view. So I guess I'll let you take over the discussion, then we'll have some more discussion afterward.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. On the phone, we should also have Ren Gardner, who is our drilling and completion consultant, and Chris Caliendo. He oversaw the cement bond log operation for the well. Do we have both gentlemen on the phone?
Yes, Chris Caliendo is online.
Yes, Ren Gardner's online.
Okay. Ren, could you walk them, the commission and Dennis, through the surface casing cement job and the production casing cement job?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we drilled drilled and set 9 5/8 surface casing to 1,775 feet, and cemented that with excess cement and recovered approximately 110 barrels of cement to surface. We then allowed it to, as we cut our wellhead off and prepared for the production casing, or the production string end of it, that cement fell a little bit, around 8 to 10 feet, but we could still see cement right below surface. So at that point, the cement did not fall. We recovered cement to surface. At that point, there was no reasoning to run a bond log over the 9 5/8 surface casing from 0 to 1,775 feet. We went down and drilled out with 8 3/4 bit, did a fit test, and then proceeded to drill to TD.
Once we got down to TD, we ran 7-inch casing, and it's as per my drilling prog, we had plans to bring cement up to 1,600 feet, which would be 175 feet above the surface casing shoe. With that cement job, we had some excess planned in there, and we pumped it. We had good returns, and we actually, as per the cement bond log, we're showing cement around 1,050 feet, which essentially would be 750 to 775 feet inside the surface casing. That we do have some cement and some bond. So the surface casing was designed to have cement back to surface. The production casing was not. It was designed to get cement into the annulus, the inside of the surface casing and the outside of the 7-inch to ensure there was a proper bond, and we have upwards of 700 feet of that. Is there anything else you want me to expand on?
Not me. I thought your question was for Scott. Sorry.
No, that's great, Ren. Chris, could you walk them through the cement bond log as well?
Sure. So this log pertains to the 7-inch production casing, and that's all it pertains to. I can't see what this tool is not able to see what's behind the 9 5/8. And I see a cement top the same as Ren does at 1,049 feet. You see good waveform signal in the VDL. The travel time is reading as it should, and it all comes together at that 1,074 feet to confirm a cement top.
Thanks, Chris. Dennis and Commission, does that help answer some of the questions you may have?
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Commissioner Farburn.
Yeah. My question is just to a simple non-technology thing is, have you calculated the volume of cement you put down the hole versus, you can never get precisely the volume between an outer wall of casing and the actual drill hole wall, because you can have caving and kind of odd shapes in there, but you can get in the ballpark on whether or not the volume of cement that you pump down should approximately fit that volume between the outer casing wall and the actual drill hole wall. Do you have any information on that low-tech answer to the problem?
Ren, I think you could answer that question best. In terms of a gauge hole, it's fairly close. It also matches up with when we were pumping with the weight of the cement, and when we bumped the plug with the final pump pressure before we bumped the plug, those numbers match up as well to show that right around 1,000 foot. So obviously there is no seepage in the casing to casing. So when you figure the 50% excess on your open hole, it does come pretty close to that 1,000 foot.
What do you mean by pretty close? Is it sort of within 1% or 5% or 10%, or can you put a number on what you mean by pretty close?
I could. I don't have that exact percentage right here in front of me. Okay. I'm not prepared, but I can definitely get you a very simple. I can send it to Dennis or whomever requested on the commission to show exactly on the percentages of where it should be.
This is Dennis Turner. I got a question. First, yes, do send that to me. I can forward it to at least Mr. Fireman, if not the rest of the commissioners. The second question, or the second statement, which is a question, is that your rationale then for why you did not run a cement bond log through the surface casing? You felt you had adequate cement returns and the volume was sufficient, that you didn't think you had any entrainment or caving gaps, whatever?
Yeah, during the surface. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Scott. Oh, go ahead, Ren. That's your best to answer that. So as a petroleum engineer and working with multiple other states, it's always been industry standard, in my opinion, as a surface casing. When you pump your cement, and we obviously want surface cement to come back to surface to ensure that all freshwater zones have been covered. And when we recovered proper cement, we recovered 100 barrels of cement to surface, and then when that cement does not drop on our backside, on our annulus, to me that shows that we don't have caving. We pumped the cement down the 9 5/8. We've recovered it up to the annulus and to surface. Once we've shut down, if it does not fall, if the extra hydrostatic on that surface casing does not fall, at that point, to me, it shows that we have cement from top to bottom. So hopefully that answers on the surface casing.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Nations, you've been quiet. Any thoughts or comments here?
Well, it's because I don't understand. I have no experience with cement bond logs. Is it just a visual observation of what the tool is seeing through the pipe? And if so, what would be the difference between it seeing cement and void space?
I can give
or is the observation irrelevant here?
No, that's a very pertinent question. The purpose of the cement log is to give a graphic illustration based on electronic means, sending out a signal. I guess in the simplest terms, it's a sound that's sent out from this tool and is bouncing off the casing and bouncing off the cement and bouncing off the formation. And those returns, it's roughly analogous to a seismic line, and returns from different layers with different densities, and it creates a different pattern that is displayed graphically on a log. And that's what you're looking at to see if it's a good cement bond log, or cement bond, or if it's a free pipe. Those are extremes.
So if there's open space rather than solid cement, that should be evident in this recording from that tool.
In that, the simple answer to your question,
you don't have to judge just how much cement you pumped in there, whether you filled up the hole or not.
Well, I was going to say the simple answer to your question is yes, but there's a lot of mitigating issues that I think Ren was trying to explain, and what I gathered from my training also, that may give you misleading readings. It seems like that's what's happening here, but they're saying that, and Ren, please correct me if I didn't get it right, but I'm understanding Ren to say that the surface casing was placed, the foot of the surface casing was placed at an approximate depth of 1,770 feet. And then they came in and they went down to the bottom of the hole and they circulated cement under a lot of pressure to push it back up to the surface.
Right.
And they kept getting cement returns up to 100 barrels, which is giving them confidence that they have enough cement to completely encase the annulus that surrounds the casing. And then they stopped pumping, and there was no shrinkage. The cement didn't start to go back down the hole and start to pull it back in, kind of like suction or something, because of caving problems or big gaps that had air in it that are now filling up. My point is that, and I guess that's a good indication, Bill Fireman's question about volume calculations. If you calculate the volume of the annulus and you calculate the volume of the cement and you have returns, you can come up with a percentage that tells you you're pretty comfortable that all the cement that can be down there is down there and it's a good seal. But when you start putting casing inside of casing and then you run a cement bond log inside of that scenario, which is what happened here, you're not going to get good returns or good signals through the surface casing. And so that's why I asked the question, of how they justified not running a cement bond log tool after they set surface casing, which was again set at 1770 feet, plus or minus.
Cobalt, do you have any response to that?
Yeah, this is Scott. I think that goes back to Ren's comment that when we pump the surface casing cement job, we have full returns, meaning we never lost circulation as we were pumping cement down the casing and up the annulus. And then we were able to circulate back 110 barrels of cement, of excess cement. And then Ren's comment that the cement, it settled maybe 8 to 10 feet below ground level, tells us that we have cement from the surface down to 1,775 feet.
Commissioner Farben?
Yeah, would it be okay to ask if we have any non-commissioned people in attendance here who have experience with cementing?
I'd be glad to make a brief comment.
Is this okay?
Is that all right, what he's asking?
You can ask, yes.
You need to speak up, though.
Okay, this is Jim.
You have to speak up very loudly.
Go ahead and sit up here.
I'll sit up here a little closer to the phone. And I didn't have a chance to talk to Dennis about this earlier, but from what I can hear, you followed extremely standard industry practice as far as the cement job goes, and I'm glad it circulated well like that. Normally, surface casing, it has to be documented eventually in the well file reports. The amount of cement and the success of circulating the cement is taken as an indication that the surface casing is successfully cemented. The only thing I noticed, which is a little unusual, is 1,700 feet is kind of a lot for a surface casing run, but I'm sure the peculiarities of the section that you're drilling up there, suggest that was the most efficient thing to do. But often cases you don't have that much of the hole that doesn't have documentation from cement bond log because you don't have that much surface casing. But otherwise, I don't see any real irregularities. You'll never get a good response from your cement bond log up when you're already at two strings of casing. Thank you.
And that's my understanding from my training also.
Commissioners, any other thoughts on this? Do you think they've been adequate in what they're doing, or we need to ask them for anything else?
Would it be logical to ask for a third opinion on this? That's what I'd like to do.
Ask for a what?
A third opinion from a petroleum engineer to evaluate the quality of that cement log, or the cement job, I'd say. The quality of the cement job, just to make sure that we're not doing something we don't understand, because I don't understand the details on it.
They have hired they have two people, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there's two independent parties that they've paid to provide consulting on this. Is that correct?
That's correct, Frank. Ren is independent. He's our consultant. He's a petroleum engineer, and Chris Caliendo is independent of us. He's from Cutter's Wireline out of Farmington, New Mexico. His company came out and and ran the cement bond log.
And they're both licensed as necessary?
And they're both
Very
licensed.
much so.
Licensed? If that's a requirement of petroleum engineers?
Yes, and Ren could speak to that.
The answer is yes, Dale. Commissioner Nations.
Okay.
Ren, please make your comments.
Frank, this is Todd Clement. I just, as one of the commissioners mentioned, he felt like 1,700 feet for a surface casing was more than he's seen in the past, and it's exactly right. That just goes to prove our efforts and our intent are good, and we've met regulations and exceeded them. So all in the need to make sure that we're doing everything possible to be a safe and adequate operator there in the state of Arizona. So I'll just leave it with that note. That's been our case up to this point, and will continue from this day forward. So I want you to know that we have the state's best interest in mind, and we're doing everything we can to prove that to the commission.
Commissioners, do you see any other? Commissioner Firebarn. Brian.
Yeah, okay. First, you guys, I appreciate your being so good at communicating here. It's really a pleasure to deal with people that, open communication to just try and work stuff through, so I appreciate that. I'm the one that brought up the thing on volume. It would just give me a little bit more of a warm, fuzzy feeling if I could see that calculation on volume. Is this something we need to just, final opinion today, or could we do we have time to just wait for you to, we have to do it today? Okay.
Well, how long would it take to get that calculation?
Well, may I jump in? This is Scott. I sent a treatment report from BJ. BJ's was the company that came out and pumped the cement job, both the surface casing and production casing cement jobs. I sent that treatment report to Dennis, I believe, yesterday or the day before. And in that treatment report, it specifies the volumes that we pumped, the weight of the cement, anything that you would need to know to demonstrate that we clearly have cement to the surface. Speaking of the surface casing.
Was it titled Cobalt, etc., CBL, LAS, Excel sheet? Was that it?
No. It was prior to that, Dennis. Maybe the day before.
What was it titled?
What was it called?
The title of it is Cementing Treatment Cobalt 2021 Surface. And it was sent on March 18th, which was Wednesday.
So, Dennis, have you not seen that?
Well, it sure doesn't sound familiar. I'm not denying that he sent it. But you're saying that in that document it contains the information about the volumes of cement versus what filled up in the annulus?
That's correct. It specifies all the details.
This is Ren Gardner. I'm trying to run that calculation here right directly for you guys as I'm listening. So just an FYI.
Yeah, I should think that it's something that he could do on the spot.
And Dennis, if it would help, I could send that to you today, right now as we speak.
Send it.
Speaking of the treatment report.
May I ask Dennis a question, Frank?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So, Dennis, is this something that you have not seen? Would this make a difference in your opinion about the quality of that log?
Well, it probably would, but to be honest with you, I've shifted my opinion. What's been explained and discussed seems logical. as far as just simple volumes, you know, I mean, if you put down 1,000 barrels of cement and the annulus calculated is going to hold 990 barrels of cement, and then you got 10 barrels coming back, then that's pretty confident that, you know, but on the other hand, if there's caving and there's big gaps in there and you put down your 1,000 barrels of cement, sure you get returns, but then you stop it and then it just disappears, shrinks back.
Yeah, I can understand that, but it seems like based upon all the evidence we've got here that that calculation would indicate that the annulus has been filled.
Yes.
Yeah, and therefore, see, I thought there was some sort of a visual account of whether you could actually see the void space and see the cement from, electronically.
Yes.
But apparently that is not the case.
Well,
so we have to go back to the calculation of the amount of cement, and so I'm satisfied with it.
Okay.
Any other discussion by the commissioners on this? Hearing none. Dennis, the permit extensions on this. Do we need to vote on that?
I think they're doing the calculation now.
Oh, okay. How long before you have that calculation on volume?
Give me 1 minute.
Okay, we'll hold you to it.
Well, all right. So, what Mr. Thorwald asked about permit extensions, all I was going to say is that Cobalt has submitted a timely request for extensions of their other permits. There's no problem with those. I think it's another 6 months. Their permits expire here shortly, but they've made a timely submittal request. They haven't gotten official approval from me, but you can take my comments today, Scott, that there won't be a problem. It's just a matter of finding the time to get the official letter out to document in the file that you've been approved. But that was the only other thing I was going to say about permit extensions with this particular company.
So you will get your permit extension.
Yes.
It is approved.
Yes. Well, I mean, we can
Great.
go on with these other things until they're ready. It's your call.
While you're doing that calculation, just interrupt us when you have it. We'll move on to our other items on the agenda while you're doing your calculation. Plains Midstream, Dennis.
All right, so Plains Midstream owns the LPG facility at Bumstead out near Meek Air Force Base. They just, as their habit is, and as required by regulations, they're doing mechanical integrity testing and sonar on a 5-year cycle with Biggest Cavern #1. That was supposed to have been done February 27th. I haven't heard of any problems from it, so I'm going to assume that we're good to go with that. It's just a progress report for y'all. A new company has been having a lot of dialogue with me called Pinta South Operating Company. They want to drill the southern area of what is what we gave Ranger Development for 40-acre spacing. I won't go into all the details behind it. I think you've been kind of apprised of it in the past, but Pinta South is on the verge of issuing submitting some permit applications to me for review and approval. What they're waiting on, I think, is that all the leasing is done up front. Arizona Energy Partners sent me another email in regards to a road maintenance problem. It's not clear to me if it's resolved. It's not clear to me that Oil and Gas Commission has any direct authority or responsibility, but I'm just trying to facilitate local resident concern about their roads being torn up by the equipment that AEP uses that they have to drive to get to the well site. And I just asked that Mr. LeBlanc address the residents' concern, and I don't know if it has been addressed or not, but I haven't heard from the resident anymore. So I guess people are satisfied. So it's just a FYI. Rare earth exploration.
I'm prepared for the calculation results whenever you guys are.
Thank you. Go ahead with that calculation.
So when we pump this production job, and I want everybody to please remember that the surface job was different, and we gained cement to surface and we gained 100 barrels back. So what I'm talking about is strictly the production casing and comparing where we expected cement to be and where we found cement at 1,050 feet. So as long as everybody's on board with that, I will go forward. We were expecting, with our excess, we pumped 116 barrels of cement, 67 barrels of lead, 49 barrels of tail. When you figure in the 2,842 feet of open hole from 4616 up to 1774, that calculates out to 76 barrels of capacity. When you figure in from 1,774 up to 1,050 feet of casing on casing, that comes out to be 23.3 barrels. Therefore, it should have been right at where we found cement. We pumped 116 barrels. Where the cement ended up was actually 100 barrels where it sits. So the simple calculation on that is on the production with the intended excess. We were 15%. The cement cost was 15% lower than where it should have been. But that's still 700 feet above the base of the surface casing. So hopefully that helps. If anybody wants those numbers on paper, I have it here and I can send it over to Dennis.
Send it.
Okay.
Commissioners, questions? Discussion on what he just told us? Hearing none, let's move on to where you left off, Dennis.
Well,
Mr. Commissioner, this is Scott. Could we get a decision on this so that if possible, we can move forward with the completion of this well?
I think they're expecting the commission to vote on this.
If it's required or needed.
Do we, gentlemen, commissioners, are you satisfied? Do we need to take any? Are we satisfied with their report?
Yeah, I am. I'm satisfied.
I am as well.
So you need a motion.
Well, I don't know that we
satisfied.
need a motion. Are you?
Yeah, I'm satisfied.
Commissioner Cooper?
Mr. Chairman, I don't see a action item on this, but I am satisfied with the explanation, and I'm not sure if we did any further evaluation, what new evidence we would find that would be helpful for the commission.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is listed in a way that you can vote for it on the agenda.
Right. It isn't, but I don't think this is something we've given Dennis authority, I believe, on anyway.
All right.
So if we're all,
I think so too.
Yeah, if we're all satisfied with this, then you certainly can proceed. We have no issues with your cement job at this point.
Great. Thank you very much.
I will respond in writing as soon as I can, just make it official.
Okay, great.
Okay, Dennis, please proceed with where you left off.
Finished with Arizona Energy Partners Rare Earth Exploration Commission in order to plug an abandonment of the 12-1. I may have explained in the past, but anyway, the due date's extended to May 1st. I haven't seen an application yet, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he will get it in soon. Otherwise, I may be talking to you at the next meeting about something else that we have to do, some other measure we have to do. Castleton Commodities International. The only person that may have some history with this company is Dale Nations. All I can tell you is that I guess because productions have dropped as low as it has, processing plant that they have on the Navajo Nation property on the Arizona side, they've closed that plant, so they'll no longer be sending monthly reports which are required in our regulations. It's just an FYI for the record that they've shut down.
Okay.
And that's it.
Any questions for Dennis from the commissioners on any of those items? Hearing none, I'll move to item 7, report by the chairman. The legislation that was banning hydraulic fracturing and basically would ban any drilling was not assigned to committees, therefore it died in both the House and the Senate. In addition to that, there was some legislation that was being run that would be affect the commission and DEQ. It simply brought all of the dates of what is it? I've just lost it for a moment. When the commission expires and when different things expire.
Sunset review.
Sunset review. It brings all the sunset reviews to the same date instead of having them at different times. That legislation probably will not go through as it appears that the legislature is going to leave early, and many of the pieces of legislation are never going to go anywhere given the current status with the virus. That's the only things on legislation. On the website, Dennis has been meeting more than I have, but I've also been meeting with the IT people here at DEQ, and they've been going through a detailed review, which I think also will help Dennis with the procedures manual and finishing that up. But we talked about having it for this meeting. They're going to make a 2-hour presentation to us at the next meeting to go over all of the things that we're talking about for the website for our input. So just be aware that will be an extended meeting when we have that to be able to add that in. Dennis, with respect to that, was there any other thoughts you want to add with regard to the website and the IT people?
Still have a series of meetings. The meetings that Mr. Thorold was referring to that I was involved with was all last week, nearly every day, all day. I still have to go through that again for the second half of the process, which would be a system that is sending out electronic notifications to operators for their reporting requirements, such as, drilling is ceased over 60 days, reminder email to do something, submitting completion reports, submitting logs, etc. There's a system that can be done electronically through the web portal. We have to have a series of long meetings to cover that. That's yet to come. It has to happen before May 15th of those so that they can present their report out to us. I would also add something that Frank didn't mention, and that is that for those of you guys need to mute your phone. Yes, so those of you on the phone that are not commissioners, I'd like you to be aware that part of this process that we're going through to develop website portal reporting out and so forth requires reporting to the commissioners, but also it's to get a thing they call the voice of the customer. And those of you on the phone are a few of the customers that would probably like to see a presentation like this and offer input as to whether we forgot something or whether you think the system doesn't work very well and should be tweaked and whatever. I'll have more information when we can be more specific about it, but I know that Ranger Development, Prize Energy, and Cobalt are on the phone, and you're the customers that I'm talking about, but there may be other operators that would be interested in this kind of presentation also, and I guess that would be May 15th, and I think that there's others more sophisticated than I with this electronic stuff that they can do a video presentation, so you don't need to necessarily feel obligated to attend in person here in Phoenix. But that's all I have to say about that.
And you are invited to that, and we will be doing a video conference on that date for those that are not here in person. So just be aware of that and put it on your schedules. Rule updates. Dennis and I had one meeting on the rule updates, and given all the things that have been going on, we have not had those since, but I've been working on the rule updates on my own time at home and at my office, and we'll hopefully have those done soon and out to everybody to review. Dennis is working on the procedures manual, and he's going to finish that up as soon as possible, and we'll send that out to all of us for our review so that we can finalize that. The Siemens seminar was canceled. The person is no longer with the company. However, Dennis is sending me a list of the contacts that I had sent him before that I cannot find to try to get one of the other companies to provide that to us. And I've already done the legislation piece. With regard to the manuals and the procedures and Dennis, I'm having another meeting with in a few days with the powers of DEQ to facilitate that and move that along in an effective manner. Any questions about what I've just discussed? Hearing none, let's move on to item 8, call to the public. Is there anybody in the public that would like to say anything? Anybody on the phone? Hearing nothing, item 9, review and consideration of future agenda items. Anybody want to see something additionally on the agenda besides what we've already discussed? Hearing none, the only announcement I would like to make is please everybody be safe and don't get this virus. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I second it. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. We are adjourned. Be safe. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay,